Hello and welcome to the 5-Minute Film Club. This week I'm looking at Mike Nichols' coming-of-age drama, The Graduate. It lets us into the often strange and confused world of Benjamin Braddock as he struggles to come to terms with his imminent arrival into adulthood. One way he chooses to deal with it is by launching into an affair with an older woman, Mrs. Robinson. He then muddles this further by getting into a relationship with her daughter. All in all, this is one messed up arrangement. The film's story comes originally from a book by Charles Webb that seems to be based heavily upon his experience of graduation and the pressure he felt in deciding immediately what he wanted to do with his future. This is an eternal issue, this sense of distance from the outside world. And I think it's a special kind of loneliness when you go away and do something else, like go to university or perhaps go around travelling, and you go off and you experience new things, meet new people, and then you come back to where you started, and sometimes that can feel like hitting the ground pretty hard. One thing that I think is incredibly important and that this film does very successfully is by telling it from Benjamin's perspective. Literally, at some points, his point of view. We experience all the people that he meets and all the situations he gets himself into via the filter of his slightly troubled and confused mind. It's a wonderful device and really allows the film to play with interesting camera setups, such as the scene where he's walking out of his house in the diving suit and we witness it all through the visor. No sound, just the kind of Darth Vader. And then the flip side of that is when he first sees Mrs. Robinson naked, the quick flashes of bits of her flesh and his pained expressions. I really also like the opening party sequence, and when he's dragged down we get close-ups of his face and all these guests' faces just pushing in front of him. All the adults in this film feel like kind of gaudy, ghoulish, almost repulsive characters. Because we're seeing this from Benjamin's point of view, I think we're meant to see them as a bit alien. When it came to directing this film, Mike Nichols had only actually had one film under his belt, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. In fact, he was far more comfortable being on stage as a performer as part of a satirical double act known as Nichols and May. He then also succeeded in directing for the stage in the form of Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park, which won him a Tony Award. It was this production that led The Graduate's producer Lawrence Turman to think of Nichols when optioning out The Graduate for a film. He said that watching the production of Barefoot in the Park showed him that Nichols could bring out the humour inherent in the script, but also make sure it had an edge. Certainly, I think his background in kind of edgy humour is evident in The Graduate. I mean, the dynamic in this film between Dustin Hoffman, the newcomer to this, and here he is performing against the seasoned Anne Bancroft, and their scenes are full of both physical and verbal comedy. I mean, the one thing I didn't expect to do is to laugh quite as much as I did. What can I say? The comedy still stands up, and its edge has not been at all dulled. Dustin Hoffman is amazing. He really is the pulse of this film. The whole enterprise of The Graduate, its comedy, its pathos, lives and dies on Hoffman's performance. And the thing is, he makes it look effortless. Another big part of this film, while watching it for me, was the songs written by Paul Simon. Just going from those opening credits where we follow Benjamin on a travelator at an airport in one continuous long shot as the mournful Song of Silence plays, immediately has the audience a bit caught off guard. In fact, William Daniels, who plays Mr. Braddock in the film, said that when he first sat down and had finished watching The Graduate with the songs, he said that it changed his entire idea about the picture. He realised at that point that this wasn't going to be a typical comedy. And it certainly isn't. It keeps pulling the rug from underneath you the whole way through. In fact, even when the credits have rolled. The wonderfully ambiguous ending was down to a fortuitous accident, as Dustin Hoffman and Catherine Ross didn't really know what else to do, and so just sat there and waited for Nichols to shout cut. But the genius of Nichols was actually to realise that keeping that moment in made it a more powerful experience. The Graduate, nearly 50 years on, for me feels modern and fresh, and I think will continue to speak to teens and to young adults throughout the years. Not just down to the story, but also Mike Nichols' refreshing direction and the brilliant performance by Dustin Hoffman. So please do not wait as long as I have to sit down and watch The Graduate. Hello, thank you very much for watching the review. Please remember to subscribe to the channel if you like what you see today. I'm sorry that this one took a little bit longer than planned to get out there. I have the book here and I'm ready to choose next week's film. So the film this week is AI, directed by Steven Spielberg, released in 2001. Actually, me and Robert, who gave me this book, went to see it at the cinema, and I think we both were a little bit confused and bored by it, but I haven't seen it since. Maybe it has changed, maybe I've changed, and so we shall see next week when I review AI.